What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to take a look at the Hyperkin Duke controller for the Xbox One and Windows 10 PCs. Now, quick unboxing, you'll have the nice little slot where the controller rests. I'm not going to show you all the inserts because you've probably already watched an unboxing video, so this is more of a review. Now, I pre-ordered this controller back in March, and I didn't get it until like mid-May, late May, so I didn't even bother doing an unboxing video because of the long wait. I was kind of upset. I did shoot an unboxing video, but I didn't like the way it came out, and there was already 100 million other YouTubers that did it, so at that point I was really disappointed. Now, the original Duke controller for the Xbox console was pretty big. You know, for me it was okay. When I picked up my original Xbox day one on release, November 15th, 2001, I got it for a birthday present for my mother. Yes, at the time I was, I believe, 13 or 14, so, you know, pretty lucky kid. But anyways, we went to Target, we picked it up. My brother told me to pick up Halo. I've been reading a few things here and there in Halo in certain magazines. I believe it might have been EGM or Game Informer at the time, and, you know, reading a few nidbits here and there. And I also heard that since the Dreamcast was kind of a failure, a lot of the Sega games were going to be published and designed for the Xbox. So that's kind of the main reason why I went with Xbox instead of the PlayStation 2. Of course, being a Sega fan, I hated PlayStation. I don't hate them to this day, believe it or not. But yeah, I mean, the PlayStation 2 killed the Dreamcast, and then a lot of the developers from Sega went to Xbox right after. So that was the main reason, and I was there. I was probably one of the only people to pick up the Xbox day one, and I played Halo. I saw this big controller and the big console, and I didn't really think too much of it. The controller at the time was comfortable for me, and I still enjoy it to this day. I like the design of it. I do have slightly bigger than normal hands, so it does work for me pretty well. The thing I don't like about the controller, believe it or not, I hooked up my original Xbox. I played a lot of games like Jet Set Radio Future, Halo, and a lot of backwards compatible games on the Xbox One X, using both the new Duke and the old Duke. And I have to say, the old Duke, it's not as good as the new one. And the reason why is the buttons are really hard to press. Now, this may be because the controller is, 17 years now? It may be due to age, but the ABXYs, after playing Jet Set Radio and hitting that X button doing all those moves, hurt the hell out of my thumb. Whereas the new one, these buttons are really nice and soft and easy to press. You can even hear it. Listen to this. And then compare it to this. See how mushy that is? It's mushy and it's just hard, and the triggers are too. Much easier. This has like more of a springy feel to it. Now on build quality, the newer one has a nice smooth finish, whereas the old one has more of a rougher kind of. I like the old finish on the sides. It feels more solid, whereas this one kind of is. It's not slippery or anything like that, but it's more smoother. And so I like the older finish on the controller. But of course, on the new Hyperkin Duke, I enjoy the buttons. They're really nice and easy to press. RB and LB is up there. And believe it or not, they're actually really easy to use. So I was playing Destiny 2 and Halo 5, Halo Master Chief Collection. And comparing the controller to the old one, it really is the same, other than the screen. Now, the old one just had a regular Xbox logo. Now, the designers of the original Duke wanted to have a screen from day one, sort of like the Dreamcast had with the VMU unit. You had that little memory card where you had the screen there. So they're not the first ones to kind of think of that. Sega had it on their Dreamcast. So when they were designing the Xbox controller, they wanted to throw the screen on there, but of course it was going to be too much money at the time, and you probably would have had a black and white screen anyways. But fast forward to 2018, you have an OLED screen there. And I like it. And also, this is the home button. So when you're pressing the this button here, you can go home on your Xbox One. So that's really neat. Now, one thing I hate about the Hyperkin Duke controller is the Microusb port is terrible. I mean, it's the first time I plugged it in, it felt like the port was just going to snap in pieces. I don't know if you could see there. I'll try to get you a good shot if I can. But it seems like mine is slightly bent. Now, this isn't from me forcing it in or anything like that. I just plugged it in as best as I could, and it just kind of got, you know, bent out of shape from the first time plugging it in. It looks kind of flush, and flat, but when you try to plug in a USB cable, it's kind of difficult. Now, I know I should be using the original one that came with the Duke controller, but it works fine with the really small USB controller cables. It works pretty good for. So as you can see there, the second you plug it in, right now I have it on my Windows 10 PC. You don't have to install any drivers for it to work. Plug it in and you're good to go. But as you can see, that OLED screen lights up, and you can see kind of the original Xbox boot animation, which is really neat. And then when you're playing the game, or any game, this is what you see the whole time, is the Xbox logo. Now let me shut off the upper light here to get you a better look. Now the controller, as I mentioned, definitely the main feature is that OLED screen. And of course, when Hyperkin designed it to be as original as it can with the design. Now let's turn off this light here. So once you press it, the animation logo starts up over and over. Now, one drawback of the controller, I'd say, is I wish the screen was a little bigger. As you can see there, that big border, that's a pretty decent gap in between the case and the screen. Now, it could be just to protect the actual screen from breaking, but that's kind of one drawback I have with this controller. So, basically, you know, you have about a quarter-inch gap in between the screen and the outer kind of surface, so that's one negative I don't like. But other than that, man, I'm really happy about this controller, the way it came out. You know, I can't really say much more about it. I mean, it works really nice, and the triggers are awesome. The LBRB work really great. I didn't think that was going to work out as well, but they do work really well, even though they kind of cropped that in there. The original Xbox, obviously, that wasn't a feature at the time. Going from the Dreamcast to the Xbox, the controllers are pretty much, you have that second stick here, which is pretty sweet, and you have the black and white buttons. So you didn't have that on the previous generation, and so that was actually nice to see. Although I'm glad they went with the black and white buttons. They changed it on the S controller, which I'm pretty glad they did. And of course, with the Xbox One, that white and black button is now right bumper and left bumper. So definitely a big change, and this kind of paved the way forward for Xbox after they released their S controller. Now I have an S controller in the house somewhere, but I didn't want to dig it out. But yeah, definitely, if you like the original Duke, you're definitely gonna like the new Hyperkin Duke. My main issue with it, again, is the USB cable, and it works well for gaming, but there is a learning curve. You know, I was coming from the S controller to the Duke, and I wasn't getting really many kills in Destiny PvP. So after I got used to it, I started to get more headshots and all that, because the sticks are slightly bigger and more loose. Not really loose, but they're they're taller, and you have to get used to it. And other than that, I can't really recommend paying the I believe it's $75 or $70 for this controller. I can't recommend it because it's not, to me, the S controller has better build quality, and of course it's wireless, whereas this is kind of more of a nostalgic thing. The screen is cool and everything, but to me it's just kind of like, it gives it a little wow factor, and the screen can get scratched easily. I don't know exactly if it's glass. It's definitely not glass, but it's some kind of plastic that's not really high grade, because when I pulled the controller right out of the box, it was already slightly scratched. So, you know, I can't really recommend it for the price tag. Now, I thought this controller was going to be rare and hard to find, so I purchased a new one. I still have one brand new in the box, and I kind of regret doing that because it doesn't really seem like this controller is going to be, you know, hard to find. But you never know, maybe 10 years from now, this controller might be kind of one of those things where, you know, maybe everybody should have bought. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little unboxing review. As I mentioned, I did use this controller quite a lot of hours have been in, and I put in a couple hours of comparing it to the old one. So I really hope you enjoy this perspective from a fan of the original Duke. If you like the original Duke, get it. If you don't get it. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Hit that like button. Subscribe. Thanks.